Imagine this. You're driving home in your car after a long day. Your mind is wandering. You're thinking about the project you've been working on and that the email you forgot to send. Suddenly, you pull into the driveway and a conscious thought comes to mind. I don't remember driving the last 2 miles. How in the world did I get home? In fact, how am I even still alive? How many of you have ever had that experience before? The truth is, you were safe the entire time because your automatic brain took over, just like it does with most of your day. And that's where this story begins. I've spent the last 5 years studying the neuroscience of change to identify what holds us back and how can we remove it and how can we unlock our potential. What I discovered might actually shock you because there's a hidden force controlling your life and my life, and it's steering much of our lives, and we can't see it. You see, we don't experience life as it is. We experience life as we are, and it's through an invisible filter that shapes our thoughts, it shapes our feelings, it shapes our emotions, and it shapes our actions. And it translates the world into your world, largely defined by your core beliefs. Many of us are living like we're still driving that car, hands off the wheel, running programs that didn't necessarily come from us. Do you remember what it's like when you were a child? When you imagined a future that seemed limitless, a future that didn't just seem impossible, it seemed possible, and it seemed inevitable. And then somewhere along the way, you and I, we stopped believing. We grew up. We became responsible. We got realistic. So today, I want to help you unlock the hidden force controlling your life, and more importantly, learn how to use it and how to take your life back. See, this isn't about motivation. This is actually about neuroscience. A large share of your day in your thinking, it actually runs automatically. Some of your behaviors run automatically without you knowing. Your mind actually sets the target of exactly where you want to go, but your subconscious is the one driving the car, whether or not you're awake at the wheel. It's kind of like a computer. There's a software running your life. But here's a question. Who installed that software? And if this software is truly running your life, how do you reprogram it to help you live the life that you've always wanted to live? You know, I too had big dreams when I was young. I had these dreams of building a business, about impacting potentially millions of lives and having the wealth to be able to do it all and to support it. But in my environment growing up, there was a belief that my responsibility, for example, when it came to money, was to have just enough. And that belief sank deep. It wired my subconscious to, like a thermostat set to just enough. Years later, as I started a business and my startup started to soar and my revenue took off, I still had just barely enough money to pay my bills. My bills seemed to balloon with every new revenue level. My business sort of felt like it was broken until I realized it was actually my belief about money that was broken. So you see, I was living a life of just enough. Why? Because I believed I deserved just enough. And life, it fit me like a book. Here's a truth that hit me like lightning. You'll never rise higher than the limits of your own belief, not in money, not in love, and certainly not in relationships. Why is this? Because when we're children, the brain builds vast webs of connections, like a computer connected to hardware running a software ready to be programmed. We experience the newness and the excitement of life with every experience. Your brain creates a meaning during these experiences at a young age when we have no context for what we're actually experiencing. A story forms, and with repetition, we form a belief that creates emotions that drive actions. It also drives our decisions. This next part might be hard to swallow, but those beliefs were largely beliefs of other people that we simply embraced. They didn't even come from us. But here's what most people never realize. Life is not about what happens to you. It's about the meaning you assign to what happens to you. Think about it. Nothing in life has meaning except the meaning you give it. And we can, at any point, choose to redefine our meaning, creating a totally different outcome for our lives. You see, this reframing, it's not wishful thinking, it's neuroplasticity at work. Do you want to know how deeply embedded our beliefs are? Try this on. What does your brain, your software, tell you about these common sayings? Money doesn't grow on trees. Not true. Just ask a farmer. Although I have to say, I called my investment advisor and I said, hey, can I invest my trees into my portfolio? And he said no. Try this one. The grass is always greener on the other side. Again, not true. The grass is only greener where you actually plant it, feed it, and water it. You see, these aren't just sayings, they're common beliefs. And think of all the other beliefs that we've been taught that weren't actually true. And some of these are running our life and we don't even know it. But here's the question. Of all the experiences that you've had, especially as a child, how many of these false stories got embedded into our brains? Stories that weren't true then and certainly aren't true now, yet they're keeping you from the life that you've always wanted. These messages formed a quiet yet persistent story inside of it that shapes the lens through which we see the world, and they're driving hidden actions that are either leading you towards exactly what you want or more often away from it. You see, your brain is like fertile soil. It will grow weeds or flowers with the same exact enthusiasm. It doesn't care what we plant in it, because what we plant in it always will grow. So once we form a story, your brain will go and find evidence to support that it's true, whether or not it is true. For example, how many of you could find evidence to support the thought that most people are selfish, dishonest, and will disappoint you if they're given the chance? Now let's flip that. How many of you can find evidence to support the thought that most people are kind, generous, and trustworthy? If you think about it, you can likely find evidence to support both stories. So, which one's true? The one you believe. Because in this example, the story you believe will shape how you treat others, how you trust, how you love, how you lead. One story builds walls. The other story builds bridges. One closes the doors, the other one opens them. Same world, totally different lens. So here's how this works in your mind. Something happens to you or I. We instantly decide what it means. The meaning then forms a belief and leads us to a story about what it meant to you. Your brain goes out and finds evidence to support that story, and soon you act as if it's true, even if it's not factually true. You see how this can be so incredibly helpful if you choose a meaning that will help you, but incredibly destructive if you choose a meaning that will actually hurt you, that won't serve your future. You know, when I was in my early 20s, I attended my very first seminar in Salt Lake City, Utah. Some of the greatest speakers in personal and professional development were there on the stage, and I was watching this, and I felt something for the first time. A thought hit me that had never hit me before. Erik, you belong on stages. It was in that moment I felt alive. I thought, this might be it. This might be my mission. This might be my calling, my purpose. I was so fired up about the possibility of it all. So I left that event, and do you know what I did? Nothing. Absolutely nothing for over 15 years. Why? Because I built a story. A story that I had this calling followed by, you're nowhere near the level of those speakers. No one cares what you have to say. Who are you to be a speaker? You don't belong on that stage with the best in the world. And I believed it, every word. It was a disempowering story that directed my actions, leading to inaction, no action. Years later, I had the opportunity to be on stage. And you'd think I would have learned my lesson by now, but I certainly hadn't. That same story came back and replayed in my mind over and over. So you know what I did? I walked away. I literally walked away. But this time as I walked away, something hit me differently. I had a thought that changed the entire course of my life. The story that protects you imprisons you. The story that was keeping me from the life I truly wanted, the life that I felt called to live. You know, I discovered that our brains, they are not there to help us thrive. They're there to help us survive. And our brains will always default to the safe and known options, even if it hurts us long term. That day, I made a different decision to rewrite my story. And that's one of the reasons why I'm speaking on this stage with you here today. In fact, just a few months ago, I spoke on stage in front of thousands of people with some of those very same speakers that were in that very first seminar from years ago. It pains me to know what impact I could have made had I listened to a different story so many years ago. But I'm here to tell you this. It is never too late to become the person that you were born to become. What's your story costing you? I know what it cost me. What dream, what relationship, what calling are you walking away from because of a disempowering story? What if you were to choose a different story? When I finally changed mine, it changed everything. And I believe if you change yours, it will too. We all have stories that protect us, but protection has a cost. It can cost us our potential. Think right now about a story that is hurting you, one that's not serving you, and ask, what meaning could I choose that would help me instead of hurt me, that will give me my power back instead of taking it away from me? Then follow a simple process called the 3-step brain reset, starting by breaking the belief behind the story and then rewiring it. So number 1, recognize it. Recognize a story that is leading you away from what you want, away from what you truly want in life, that is hurting you, not helping you. Number 2, question it. Is it true? Ask yourself, is it really true? And I'm willing to bet the answer will be no. Number 3, rewrite it. Craft a new story, one that serves the future that you want. For example, in my life, my story was, I don't belong on stage. My new story, I was born for the stage. 2 different, totally different outcomes. Same word. Why would one word change make such a difference? Because it shifts the way, the lens from which you see the world, and will create totally different outcomes for your life. And in my experience, the opposite story that you've been telling yourself is usually the one that will get you the result that you want in life and lead you to a more empowering story that will help you achieve your impossible. If today you remember nothing else, remember this. It's time for all of us to stop running someone else's software, to choose meanings that serve our future, not our fears. When you change the meaning, you change the story. And you don't just change your day, you change your destiny.